Hi, everyone. It's your host, Julia, back with another episode of the Ethical Consumer Podcast. Today, Emily Hanna will be joining me of Hanna Valley Protein. Hanna Valley Protein is located in Truro, Iowa, which is just south of Des Moines. And I'm excited to be talking to Emily because I have had the protein powder. It is delicious. I have baked with it. I had it in yogurt. I've had it in a smoothie and with my greens powder. It's a very, very versatile powder, and I do not always agree with certain ingredients in protein and branched chain amino acid powders and the like. So we will be talking about what her product does not have, why my tummy likes it so well, and why it's so awesome. So welcome, Emily. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm glad. I got the chocolate flavor. My friend Jess also got the chocolate flavor too. I was telling her about you. And she said, well, can you order me some when you order some? Because I really want some. So she got the cinnamon, though I have not heard back yet. Her intention with the cinnamon is to bake some of these cinnamon streusel muffins that you shared on your Instagram.
Yes.
Those look really good.
Yes, they're so good.
Really, really good. So tell me a little bit about Hanna Valley Protein. You have sample sizes. You have a couple bulk sizes. Bulk bins pending pandemic measures at certain grocery stores too. So we can find you in a couple different flavors and a couple different locations.
Sure. So our products stem from, we have 2-pound bags, which are 20 servings. That's the best deal, and that's what most people either join our subscription list on our website, or that's a lot of where retail locations are. That's what people mostly get. We have chocolate and cinnamon for that. Also, we have 1-pound bags, which are 10 servings. And if you're kind of wanting to use it in a few things and make sure it's something that you really like. And then we also have it in sample sizes. So like I said, we have those 2 flavors, and we also will have a vanilla coming out soon by the end of the month. So I'm really excited for that.
Yay! By the time this comes out, it's entirely possible that the vanilla will be launched, pending your schedule, pending our schedule, but that's going to be around the same time. So guys, if you're interested in the vanilla, that could possibly be out today or like tomorrow when you're listening or watching this. Cool.
Awesome.
So the original, did you launch with chocolate and cinnamon right off the bat, or did you launch one flavor before the other?
We started at the downtown farmers market, and we did launch the chocolate flavor first. And we've been toying around with the cinnamon. Our goal is to have, even though, and we can talk about this, I'm sure, but with the sweetener we use, we just want to be as minimal as possible with sweetener in general. So we really spent a lot of time working with our different ingredients and flavors to come up with the perfect amount. So then we ended up adding a cinnamon a little bit later on. And so those have been our 2 main flavors until now, just because been really difficult to source a super clean organic vanilla that we feel comfortable putting our name on. So
sure.
So that one took a little bit longer, but and I also meant to mention with the products you and I were discussing, the bulk bins, we actually have them in Campbell's Nutrition in both of their locations downtown. They're our main retailer that is embracing our goal to be as zero waste as possible. So they do still have them in bulk, but there is some waste because for safety purposes, they kind of like pre-packaged them in the bulk section just for pandemic purposes.
For sure. So that could start to look different, hopefully in a few months here, as some of those restrictions are ideally allowed to be lifted as we keep going in the right direction. So, and I love that because that is so hard when you get a protein powder or any other supplemental powder. It comes in this gigantic plastic canister. And it's obnoxious. Of course, some of them are able to be recycled. It's still plastic. It still has to go somewhere. And the bags that you have your protein powder in now, if we're not getting it in bulk, there is a minimal lining to it. It's mostly a kind of what I would consider to be a, not cardboard paper. What do you call that style of bag, Emily?
Like a craft paper.
Craft paper. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
So far, it's the most minimal packaging that I've seen on a protein powder, and I mean, it shipped to me just fine. My scoop was still on top. Thank you for that. I hate digging for my scoops.
Welcome.
That was beautiful. I was so pleased.
Yeah.
So we have chocolate, we have cinnamon, and we have vanilla. Those are pretty standard flavors. The cinnamon is a little adventurous, but I want to know what your favorite food is, as this is definitely more of a food and beverage podcast. It can include your protein or it can be separate from your protein.
I love salads. I can make a salad with so many different mixtures. I love as many colors as possible. It's definitely more the main dish of my meals, and everything else is kind of the side dish. So, yeah, I definitely love just different salads. And my favorite dessert are, and we've talked about this, black bean brownies. I think, did you make some with the chocolate?
I did. They're so good.
Oh,
and
it
just adds, like, I love, so the sugar in your product is coconut sugar. Do I remember that correctly? Yes. It has such a nice neutral flavor. It doesn't make them sugary. It really didn't change. It added, I think it improved the texture a little bit, because then there was some fiber in it. But yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, so that's definitely my favorite treat, and one of my favorite ways that my kiddos like to eat our protein powder too.
Yes. And you're just upping the protein with the protein from the black beans in the black bean brownies too. This is the Minimalist Baker black bean brownie recipe. We bonded over that on our intro call.
Yes. Oh, she's amazing. She has such amazing recipes.
I love her. She's a go-to. Minimalistbaker.com, I think, is what it is if you guys are interested. But she has, for a while it was all vegan, and then she started incorporating some meat with the understanding that just not everybody is vegan or vegetarian. And I like that she does both. And I also love that with every recipe, she includes modifications. Like, if this, then use this instead. Like, she's very open to all dietary restrictions and personal preferences, which is not always the case with some food bloggers. They're keto or they're vegan or they're whatever. More power to you. Stick to your guns, guys. But I like to be flexible.
Right.
So when you were coming up with the idea of this protein powder, did this come to you because of your upbringing and desire to be healthy? Did it come to you from the desire to start a business? What was the catalyst for Hanna Valley Protein?
It's actually quite opposite of all of those things. My background in childhood was pretty much McDonald's every day. We just had a very poor diet. Nutrition wasn't something that my family and growing up was really focused on. So partially that, among other things, I really believe is kind of what led me to a health crisis that I experienced through the diagnosis. I said that I was told I was unable to be cured. The only way is to get on steroids and autoimmune disease. And it's just something that I wasn't willing to buy into. And I knew there had to be another way. And when becoming pregnant and having kids, that really changed a lot of how we ate. And I thought, like, you're eating healthier and more nutritious. What I didn't realize is there was still foods in my diet that were causing inflammation and they were wreaking havoc on everything. And so I was in a lot of pain, and I couldn't use my hands. I couldn't use my fingers anymore. It hurt to walk. I had like lightning bolts down my legs, my toes locked up. I had this rash, just this fiery, flaming rash on my face. That is what ultimately led me to all different types of doctors. I was told I had pink eye multiple times. To find out, yeah, it was really dramatic. Come to find out, it was actually it was attacking my eyes, and because your eyes are an organ. And I also found out I had a tumor in my left eye when I went to an ophthalmologist, and it was going to take me so long to get into additional specialists that I just felt like I was going to not make it. I wouldn't be able to wait months and months. And then I found out what the only answer would be to everything that I was dealing with. And so that's when I went on this quest to find another way, really. And so I just started going through nutrition and really looking at that. Plants are the most amazing thing. They've changed my life, along with prayer, because I really believe that's where they came from. But it really made an impact. And so I started changing things that we did every day in my diet, but also there's so many toxins surrounding us. And so I changed my pots and pans. We used to have the non-stick, and now we have cast iron because it's just so much. We're getting bombarded from every direction. So I bought a water purification system. We drink water every day. I bought a Berkey. And so, yes, I love it. But my husband's protein powder was another thing that we used on the daily, and that's kind of what I went after first. So I started reading the ingredients, and I showed him, and he kind of thought I was a nut. He still kind of does, but he's like, "Well, if these aren't good, then find me something that will work." And I tried. I went with everything I was learning, and I just didn't understand how there are so many protein powders on the market. It's so saturated, yet I couldn't find anything that just had whole foods, that didn't add additional ingredients that just weren't good for us. A lot of health food products have all of these like terms that are considered healthy, like natural flavors, or they're using stevia as their sweetener. And it just was mind blowing. And anything that was even close was so outrageously expensive. We were on one income, we were a family of 4, and I couldn't do it. So for years, I started just playing with different recipes and making him my own. It would take me hours in my little grinder, my little coffee grinder.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you were grinding did you start with hemp seeds? Were you grinding hemp seeds or grinding other various things?
I started with so many different things. Hemp was not, I didn't even know hemp. I was starting with oats, and then I found out, well, maybe oats shouldn't be raw, but then some people said it was okay to be raw. And then I found out, well, excessive amounts of grains aren't awesome, and cause inflammation. So I was like, okay, I got to get rid of that. I tried pea. I didn't love the flavor. I didn't love, if I was making something and spending this much time on it, I wanted it to be as just nutritionally packed as possible for him, but also for my family. And so it was really just a lot of tweaking. It took years of finding just different things. And my poor husband, some of the things that he tried and drank and got through were awful. But yeah. And so he said, "Emily, if you can make me a believer of this stuff, you could make anybody," because he was the big whey, protein, muscle building, all the things that went along with that.
Yes.
So that's really where it came from. And we just people started asking us about it, and we kind of went from there.
Wonderful. So hemp was not the first protein source that you started with. You said you tried oats, but it was a grain, which is not always the best for people's digestion. And then the question of oats being raw or cooked, and pea protein, it's okay. That one I'm kind of okay with, but that one is not so complete, if I remember correctly. I've also been on my personal endeavor of vegetable protein because whey and I do not get along. And yeah, so many of the protein powders on the market just have so many ingredients, and they end up being a mix of like the oat flour or and hemp and pea and rice protein, and there's so many different types. And I tend to think, okay, when you're throwing the kitchen sink in there, maybe they're selecting these ingredients for their specific amino acid profiles, because that's usually what people really look at is in protein. Is this a complete protein? Does it have all of the necessary amino acids? And I figure they're adding and subtracting things just to make sure they're hitting the numbers that people want to see on the outside of that canister. But when you're putting so many ingredients in, there's so much room for this interacting with this, and not like a chemical reaction, but certain foods when combined can have a great or terrible reaction in your gut. And I found the ones that have 5 different vegetable protein sources, those ones were the most offensive. You would think that those ones would be awesome because they have all of the ingredients. Oh, look at all the good stuff we put in here. And I'm like, yeah, and I don't know which one I'm reacting to, but it's not good.
Absolutely.
It's complicated.
Well, I feel like a lot of people look at it and are really impressed when there's, 50 health foods on there, but what they don't realize is it could be a pinch,
Yeah.
like, oh, here, well, it has ashwagandha, so here's a pinch of that, and now it's marketed as, people are buying it, and I just feel like there's just a mismarket
Right.
and misadvertising out there. People just, I mean, it took me years to understand, and I'm still learning. So the average consumer doesn't necessarily know those things.
No.
So it makes me excited to have a product that is available to people and I'm hoping that as they get to know me, I'm all about connection and relationships. I want to know our customers. I want to know their journeys. I want to know what they're up against. And I really hope that our product can just kind of go alongside them and be a small part of the changes they make in their
Definitely.
day. You nailed it with the amino acids. So many vegan protein powders aren't a complete protein or don't have all 9 amino acids. And are they absorbable? That's another key attribute that a lot of people don't recognize. They think if they're consuming it, well, then they're getting all of this great stuff, but that's not always the case. So
no.
Yeah.
The absorption, I remember when I noticed that I wanted to take a protein powder or some sort of supplement, like I wasn't quite able to get enough in my diet for the lifestyle that I had at the time. I started drinking. It was a multi-level or network marketing. I'll use the nicer term, network marketing program. I have some friends that do that, and I'm totally down, guys. No worries. But a friend of mine started selling with a network marketing program, and it was soy protein. And soy is a very interesting ingredient. You would think that it has a wonderful source of protein, but there's actually, what is it? There's soy protein uptake inhibitors. Like, you cannot always digest the amount of soy protein because of an ingredient in the soy protein. It doesn't let you digest it and absorb it. Something funny with it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, the body has to go through such a process to just digest something. When something is overcomplicated or hard to digest, like oats, as far as being a grain, or other ones with having such a random smattering of ingredients in it, you might not be getting the amount of protein that's indicated on the label because you can't even digest the product. Whether it's because of something with soy where the protein is just not always digestible by the human body, but your own specific digestive system and its needs. And you have, how many ingredients are there in Hanna Valley Protein? Is it like 5 or 6?
Just 5.
Just 5. Just 5.
Just 5.
That's it.
Keeping it simple.
Keeping it simple. So the chances that someone is going to perhaps react negatively, at least they would be able to read the label and say, oh, it's probably this, or oh, it's probably this. This is my allergy. This is my intolerance. But you got 5 ingredients. 5 ingredients. It's a very good chance. We'll be good on that.
And that's another great point, because there are so many things out there that if you have any type of allergies or even just sensitivities to things, I really struggle with that. Especially, I'm allergic to wheat, among other sensitivities that I have, and I just wanted to give people like me, everybody, it's for everybody, but I wanted people to have an option that they could be like, oh, there is something for me out on the market, on the shelf. I don't have to go home with my grinder and spend 4 hours making my own protein powder.
Oh my gosh.
And then Define Seeds have oil, and all it does is make like peanut butter type things, and it was just a nightmare. Yeah, it's really fun to have that to bring to people that are dealing with those issues as well.
Definitely. I think there's a side of the market that really just, that it's a very underserved side of the market. Pardon me, we'll restart that statement, because everything's commercialized and everything just has the kitchen sink thrown in, and those with food sensitivities are often, they're just kind of scrambling on their own to find, well, what can I do? Well, take a protein powder. Which one? I don't know. What one can you have? Well, I can't have this, 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 and this. Oh, well.
Absolutely. Now what?
It's very challenging. When I worked at the health food store, we would have folks come in and they'd say, I'm allergic to this, I'm intolerant to this, My dietary restriction won't let me have this, and I don't want this. And it was a battle. It was difficult. Usually we would point them toward just a protein source, not a mixed powder, and suggest that you need to figure out something to mix this with to make it palatable, which is just that's depressing. You guys, those of us with dietary restrictions deserve to have some good protein, damn it.
I know it. Well, there's a question I get a lot. Well, I can get everything from my diet. You absolutely can. I'm probably the only person on the face of the planet that sells protein powder that says you don't need protein powder. However, in the lifestyles that we lead, and they're so busy in our lives, and the reason I started using it is my husband was using it for a completely different purpose, but I was having a hard time getting enough calories in the day. I was having a hard time. Okay, do I have a smoothie, or, what's another really quick option? Typically they're not great, and so, it's just, and my children, it's part of their breakfast. My daughter eats it out of the scoop, which is so gross. Oh. I don't ever recommend that, but it's however you like.
Oh my goodness. I'm picturing the muscle bros dry shotting the pre-workout in the gym, and your sweet, beautiful little daughter is just dry shotting the protein.
Licking it out of the cup, basically.
Oh, pumpkin. Yeah. Well, she's not going to have any issues with eating any foods when she gets older.
I know. Yeah, my kids do have a pretty wide palate.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you get your kids in the mix too, because I think exposing children to different foods and maybe what we're going to consider the crunchy, healthy foods. They're not. They're normal. They're real food. But that's not always something that they get until they're older, and then they already have their ideas of what's good and what's bad. And broccoli is icky, and broccoli is one of my favorite foods. I was just talking to a friend. I love broccoli. Matt, my fiance, does not like broccoli. But no, I love it because I think I had it when I was a kid, and I never thought it was weird. I never had anyone tell me otherwise, and I think it's great. But yeah.
I know my kids, when their lunches and stuff tend to look, a little different than the average, and so it comes up a lot to them, and I'm just so proud of them for, so it's a little weird, Mom, but I feel like, I want them to see what a healthy lunch looks like. I'm like, yes, more power to you. Yes. So it's fun, but don't get me wrong. It is not all easy rainbows, butterflies. Like I put a piece of spinach on my daughter's plate for a year every night before she finally eat it. And now it's her favorite, So don't give up, moms and dads.
Persistence. There we go. I love it. So on that note of ingredients, you have 5 very simple, easy to digest for most, if not all, ingredients. You also do not include that laundry list of ingredients that a lot of most conventional protein powders would. And terms that most people are familiar with are gums and fillers and things like that. Now, why would a more conventional protein powder, a commercialized protein powder, why would those be included? What are their purpose?
So I might not know all of their purposes.
That's okay.
For fillers, it just adds bulk. Really, it makes them be able to spend less, and it fills up the container, and it's all about profits. The whole reason I started this was not about profit. Yes, I really would like to be able to support my family with this, but at the same time, I'm not going to compromise the product that we have. So I believe that's part of it. The other side of things that I'm learning, because I'm learning as I go. My background is not in protein powder. I'm from education, but I do love to learn. And so I learned that, the next step, typically when you use a really large facility for mixing and things like that, they'll have to add in different types of oils or different types of gums just for the simple fact to keep the powder down. So it's not like going in the air or, causing a mess, all those things when you're doing large quantities. And so we really focus on just doing more small batches. We are growing, and we're growing pretty quickly, which is amazing, but we're also wanting to make sure to stay grounded. And do it in the best possible way. And so we're really exploring different options of what that could look like for us to stay true to the product that we have, because it's part of the reason why we even started doing this in the first place.
I love that.
So, yeah.
So there will be no fillers and there will be no gums. We're going to find alternatives to
Absolutely.
Scaling up. With the gums then, so so the gums are an ingredient just for ease of mixing. They have no end result or little to no. Again, you don't need to be a protein expert. That's okay.
Right. And
You're an
I'm
expert
not,
in
and
yours.
I'm not claiming to be.
Yes.
For mine, it's just an unnecessary ingredient.
Sure.
I've heard people might use it for different like texture, things like that. Again, I really think it's most important because, okay, if your diet typically is pop and fast food and things like that, I hope that you can see, a different side to nutrition. However, your palate is going to just be a little bit different. So our protein powder isn't super sweet. We don't use like large sweeteners, things like that. So anybody that does have it, we always recommend as you start to kind of transition, put some honey in it, or if you're vegan, put some syrup, like maple syrup in it, or things like that, just to help start to make that transition. But all of our ingredients, we want to keep as, if there's not a purpose for them in it and that's nutritional, then it doesn't need to be in ours. So that's
For
something we stand behind.
That's a really great point that you make too. And that's not to say that, someone needs to go straight from perhaps having not the most ideal nutrition in their lifestyle to going all the way, like just vegetables, just the simplest, most beautiful protein powder out there. There may be a journey, there may be a transition, and that is something that I think discourages a lot of people. So though we are obviously in favor of, having the most healthy lifestyle that you can, if there's a dislike of the texture or the flavor or something like that, initially, as you're starting to make your way there, that's not going to be motivation whatsoever to continue. Here you think that you have all of these sugary, salty, oily, beautiful foods that you love to eat. And then, Emily loves salads. I love salads. Matt loves salads. But if you take someone that does not like salads and you put, perhaps a very plain salad in front of them and say, here, eat this instead. It's delicious. And they look at it and they take a bite and they say, no, it's not. Part of it's the psychology of it. There's not enjoyment in that food if you're used to something else. And
absolutely,
it's hard. So yeah, definitely not excluding anybody, any diet, any lifestyle when we're talking about these things too, because everyone has their own journey and their own process. And I love that you're so open about that too, with the recipes that you have and saying, hey, if this is inhibiting you from enjoying this, add this instead. Like there's modifications that you can make. You can put this in the black bean brownies. I really don't notice that much of a difference between brownies and the black bean brownies.
Right.
At this point, maybe, my palate is definitely changed a little bit, but I don't think there's that much of a difference. I don't know. I'm going to sneak one into my mother-in-law at some point in time and see if she can tell the difference. Love you, Sandra.
Yes. I know. I feel like I need to do like a eat this, not that, like something to show. There are so many ways that you can just start to make changes. Even just with friends I talk to that have a really heavy meat, in a lot of their meals. I'll be like, add cauliflower rice to your meat. It'll go, your ground beef. It'll make it go farther. You're getting extra veggies. Your kids won't know what's in there. If you're making spaghetti or tacos or whatever the case. And it's just fun. Just little things like that you can do to start that transition. Because there's no like trophy. No. At the end of it, there's no medal for not eating a treat or something for the day. It's really just how you feel. And unfortunately, so many people don't know what it feels like to even feel good because they don't realize that they don't feel good. Yep. They don't have a lot of energy or things like that. No.
Changing your lifestyle and your diet after you get over that hump of like maybe a little bit of sugar withdrawal or caffeine withdrawal if you're trying to cut out coffee or something like that. It's like, oh man, this sucks for like 5 days. And then you're like, yes, I feel good. I feel better. I feel awesome. But it takes a while to get there. So I love that you're so supportive on anyone's journey. And you do this not only just by being you and sharing your story of how you came to be Hanna Valley Protein, Emily of Hanna Valley Protein, but also you have recipes on your website as well. You have kind of the Hanna Valley cookbook up there, the pamphlet per se. I don't know if we're at full-fledged book form yet, but
it's an ebook. You get you get a file. Yes.
There you go.
And make sure you download it, because my website makes it delete after 30 days. So download it if you buy it.
Download it. Download the ebook and save it somewhere nice.
Yes.
What is your go-to recipe out of that? What's the recipe that you would recommend people try first if they're trying Hanna Valley Protein?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I'll be completely honest with you on this. I have made all of the recipes in the book and I love all of them. But if I have to go-to recipe, it is the simplest recipe. I don't have it anywhere. I've started, there's a product that I put on like our Instagram and Facebook. Our energy balls are probably the main thing. But when I want the easiest, simplest thing, I throw a few bananas in a bowl, I mash them. I'll put some oats in there, and I will add a few scoops of protein powder, and I'll just make balls, stick them in the oven for 10 minutes, and they're amazing. Nice. Which probably isn't, pushing my recipe, but no, there's just so many. My point is, there's so many ways. Like, a lot of people are like, I don't have a recipe for this or that. If it's something that, like chocolate tastes good in, add it. If it's something that cinnamon tastes good in, add it. Like, it doesn't have to be, some science experiment or whatever. Just try it. Just add it, sprinkle it in stuff. Or
I had asked you when I was going to make the black bean brownies, I said, okay, what do you sub out in order to sub in the protein powder? And you said, I just add a scoop. And if it's too dry, add nut milk or add water or something like that. Yeah. So guys, there's room to play. We don't have to follow recipes exactly which drives me nuts. Matt is a baker, and he has a wonderful, bakes beautiful bread. And I know you can't have grain or bread, but it's so maddening because I'll say, babe, can you give me the recipe and I'll start this for you before you get home, and then you can finish it while I'm teaching or something like that. And he'll say, well, I don't really have a recipe. And I think, gosh darn it, Matthew, grandmother, why? But when you're baking, sure, things have to be a little bit more specific. But if you're making a smoothie, or if you're making energy balls, or adding something to muffins or brownies or something like that, there's room. There's a large margin for error.
Don't let it catch you up, and don't stop making changes because it's too hard or you're not sure how. Just start small.
Yes, you're not going to get it wrong. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So in the future, I'm assuming, because you said you'd like to scale, it is not your goal to go out and run a business and make a profit and things like that. But of course, you would love to support your family and yourself in this endeavor too. I mean, something ideally that returns some of the energy that you're putting out there with manufacturing and advertising the protein too. Do you have any upcoming releases, any new things, anything on the horizon that you want to share?
I mean, there's always stuff in the works. Nothing that I am ready to share yet.
Sure.
But, there's definitely things, that we're not holding back, but we're not, just trying to race ahead and get ahead. Like I said, when I was, really sick, my faith is a big part of my journey. And so I prayed and prayed and prayed the whole time. I think it's probably one of the main things that got me through some of the really, really hard times. And that just God would take what I went through and make it so that I can share with others, to be able to, there's hope. There's so much hope. And there's so much autoimmune disease, so much pain, there's so much inflammation, there's so much disease. And it's a hard thing to grasp when you've gone through that for so much of your life, or just different experiences, to think that nutrition is something that is powerful enough to really change your whole life. And I can attest that it can change your whole life. I mentioned I went to the ophthalmologist about my eye. I wouldn't believe this if it didn't happen to myself, but when I started everything, I decided, I'd watched documentaries, I started reading, and I said, okay, I'm going to try like a 2-week experiment. I'm going to just juice, and I'm going to eat fruits, vegetables, and potatoes for 2 weeks just to see what happens, because there's so much information out there. One person says this is okay, one person says this is okay. And I cannot tell you how much my pain had gone down in the 2 weeks alone. I went back to the ophthalmologist, and he's like, I don't know what you've been doing. He's like, but there's no remnants of a tumor in your eye. He's like, and I was like, are you sure?
Gosh.
Like, because I wasn't even bought on the whole thing. I was just so desperate, And he's like, yeah. He's like, I don't have a reason for you to come back. And he's like, so just keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, honey, okay. Holy cow.
Yeah. It even still gives me goosebumps this day, because I just so deeply want to help people realize like that there is hope for them.
Sure.
And I feel like protein powder is kind of like my gateway to kind of helping people to recognize that and realize that I'm not a doctor. I don't have all of the answers. All I can do is share my experience and hope that it gets other people questioning, and trying different things and things like that. Oh, it gets me emotional.
I'm getting a little leaky too. I'm like, hang on, Julia, you can do it. But it's a story of transformation and faith, and you finding yourself in a situation and saying, okay, I could accept this, and I could also try my hardest to figure out a solution. And through prayer and through finding your own journey as far as nutrition goes, and then sharing it with others. That's the biggest thing. Of course, we don't have to share all life experiences, all of the things with the whole world or anything like that. Not all of us are built for that. We have different energy levels and how we are meant to show up in the world and what we're meant to do here. But you taking that and running with it has the ability to impact so many other people that think, well, it's a lost cause. The doctor said this, so I should just accept my fate. And, free will is a thing, and we can accept fate or we can decide to try to modify it at the same time. And it's such a beautiful thing and a beautiful story. And I'm sure you've already impacted people with the protein. I know we're changing lives with protein powder here, guys, but it's nutrition. It's the entire basis of your cellular structure. Like anything we take in, information, mentally, emotionally, food, like that has an effect on how we're made up. And man, if that's not sustainability, I don't know what is, because this is the only vessel that we're given.
It's true. And it's funny, because if you would have asked me 5 years ago that this would be, I'd be doing this full time now, I would have thought you were crazy. It's like protein powder, but I really believe it has been put on my heart to do and to make an impact. And so I'm just like, okay, I'm going to keep moving forward. Sometimes it's really slow because I'm like, I don't know where I'm stepping.
Sure.
I'm not going to pretend and have all the answers. And business is not my background, but I believe in our why and our purpose, and I kind of feel like that's unstoppable. So I'm really excited to see where it goes in the future.
Yay. I'm excited to see where it goes too. Oh, you're just so wonderful.
Oh, I appreciate you having me today.
So how do you balance all of the things? I am a person that believes there's no real work-life family balance. Unfortunately, I don't know. Maybe you have a secret that I haven't found yet, but I don't know if it's possible to have all of those scales level at the same time. And you mentioned your faith is a big part of what keeps you grounded and motivated, but how do you do it? Because you are a mom of 4, you're a loving wife.
Only two.
Why did I think 4? 2.
I have 2 dogs that are kind of like that, and I've got like 9 chickens.
Maybe I'm thinking 4 people in your family. 2 children.
Yes. Yes. I said our family of 4.
There we go. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So we have the 2 kids. You have your dogs. You have your beautiful husband, and he has his own business. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, he does custom woodworking. He builds custom cabinetry, and he's so talented.
Oh,
he's
fun.
Amazing.
So cool. How do you balance that with, are you still teaching at night? I think we had talked about that previously. You are a teacher too. So my goodness, darling, educator, entrepreneur, all of the things. How do you do it? What's your secret?
I don't, it's messy. It is not pretty. And I'm not like, I'm taking like a business class right now, and they're like, so, what's something you work on? Like, oh, if I could just have my organization down, like, and be super efficient. Like, it's something I'm really working on and I want to grow in. But, I work 3 nights a week. I teach, for a community college here. And then, I'm also homeschooling this year, and, running a business, and, mothering. And really it's lack of sleep, which I know is so important. I tell everybody, like, sleep is so important, but it's a little bit different when you, like, the things that are causing me not to sleep aren't draining me. They're like, like filling me up, they're boosting me. And so when I can't sleep, it's not because I'm dragging. It's because I'm like, I have so many ideas and so many things I have to do. And just, so I don't know. I just keep going. I just keep, like I said, I keep moving forward, and I just one step in front of the other. And, I'm really a stubborn person, if you haven't noticed.
I love it, though.
Like, if I put my mind to something, it's like any challenges that come in, it's like, bring it, like, bring it, because I'm going to overcome it, and I'm going to keep going. So I guess just maybe that mentality keeps us going. I'm not sure. My kids are a part of everything. So my son was down with my husband this morning, and the life skills that they're getting this year, because we didn't plan to homeschool, but it's just what happened is in the cards for us this year. And so, it's been interesting. It's been hard, but it's been good.
Good. You make a really wonderful point that sleep is one of the most important things. And of course, for our physical body, sleep is so very necessary. But also, when you're doing things that impact you in a joyful, exciting way, I think it can take less of a toll if you're just drudging through something and you're physically tired and emotionally tired. I think that's where we hit that rut. That's where it's really unhealthy. And I would totally advocate for everybody getting more sleep. But if you're doing something that makes you excited, that does not emotionally, maybe mentally, emotionally, sometimes the kid's having a rough day or the math problem is just not working out. But that's frustrating.
Right.
But there's different types of tired. I'm a firm believer in there's different types of tired. Some are worth it. Some are not. We should all get more sleep, but making sure you're at least...
You'd have to know your limits too. Like, I'll go and go and go, but I also am really intentional about when I stop.
Sure.
And my family as a whole, we really are trying to navigate that, because as two entrepreneurs, your whole, kind of consumes your world. So also trying to find that balance of still having a life, and still having downtime and things like that. So it's definitely a balancing act for sure.
Definitely. That sometimes a scale tips one way and the other one doesn't. It takes a little while for it to bounce back, but we're always in flux. We're always hopefully in a happy, motivated flux. And I would call you driven, not stubborn.
I'll take driven.
You're grinding different types of plant protein sources for like years, trying to come up with your perfect product or your perfect nutritional valued protein, not necessarily product, because you didn't go into this with product creation in mind. You're like, I'm going to find my protein powder. Oats? No. Peas? No. Okay, let's keep going. I would have probably thrown in the towel after a couple months and a couple different tries, but you're like, nope, we're doing this.
I'm
cool.
Too far in.
Too far in. Well, at this point, I'm invested, so we're going to find something. Too funny. And with sharing your message and sharing this drive, you recently did a few collaborations, not only with us, but also with 2 more organizations. One, Capital City Fruit Company, and then 1 Million Cups, that's a pretty big deal. It's kind of like it's expanding kind of like the TED Talks. Like you have the TEDx at like different universities, and 1 Million Cups has its different locations. Tell me a little bit about those. What was that experience like?
Sure. Well, Capital City Fruit is it's really neat when an organization or company really believes in you and believes in your product. And I feel like that's something that they've really invested in with us. And so we've just finished making a video, which it's okay to say because this isn't coming out yet, but It goes out tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. It's really it's really hard because I'm not used to being on camera.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
not used to seeing myself, I've watched the video and I'm like, oh, I don't want to ever see that again. Like, cause it's just, who wants to look at themselves? And, but there's been so many things that have happened lately to get me out of my comfort zone. And so I always say yes to those things because I feel like that's where we like grow the most, even if I'm shaking or like super just nervous about it. But so there's a video going out with them. We also are going to be a part of the Iowa State Health Initiative conference, which is really neat. That's happening at the end of April. And so we teamed up with Capital City Fruit, and they're going to be sending out like smoothie boxes to all of like the 300 attendees. And then I've done some different lunch and learns and things like that for some companies that they're partnered with in their program. And so that'll be really fun to share my little smoothie making tutorial with them, and they'll get a chance to try it. Then we have 1 Million Cups. Yeah, it's 1 Million Cups out of Ames. It's a great group of people. They are just really dedicated to helping small businesses grow and just to make those connections. And so, that was a really neat experience as well. So it's been fun. I really enjoy it for sure.
Cool. We have a chapter here too. I'm not familiar with, obviously I would be familiar with the Cedar Falls chapter and not the Ames chapter, but it's always super fun to even just get invited to the 1 Million Cups, the virtual events on Facebook. And even, I can't always come because sometimes it's at a time when I'm teaching. But just seeing, the companies and the entrepreneurs that are there trying to get their mission off the ground, trying to get their business off the ground. It's or just sharing their mission too. Yours is clearly off the ground. We're still in the upward trajectory, but it's just nice. It's so fun to see what people are doing. I think it's just amazing. So what advice do you have? You said you get a little bit nervous being on camera for something or speaking in front of people, perhaps. What advice do you have for maybe budding entrepreneurs or folks that are just interested in, doing something scary, like creating a product or putting their already existing product out there or taking a leap of faith in maybe their health or nutrition? Do you have something that just inspires you? You said sometimes you just keep going. That's
just doing it. Just do it. Like I overthink everything, and I can't even imagine. I wish I could like explain to somebody or they could see the trajectory of how everything has happened, because downtown farmers market was our first place. That was our year to find out, is this something people are interested in, before we got fully licensed in January of 2020. And it was paralyzing. I don't even know how else to describe that. I'm at the market. I don't know what I'm doing, and then like you just roll with it. I made protein granola, just to like very last minute, so that people would have a chance to see the versatility of it and try it. So then we're giving people granola and they're like, well, where's the granola? Like, we want to buy the granola. And I was like, oh, okay. We don't make granola, but we will. And so after that one, and we sold out every market. It was amazing. We still have people ask for it, and that was in 2019.
Holy cow.
We will bring it back. We'll bring it back this summer because we're going to be in the downtown farmers market again.
Yay!
Which I'm excited for. But just don't overthink it and do it. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, it doesn't work. Okay, and try another way or try again. Life is too short to not. And if you have a why that just keeps you up at night, like, there's nothing stopping you.
I love that. Listen to that why, listen to that call, and go and do the thing.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. And our small business community here in Iowa is like such a gift. I mean, we have the most amazing small business community. And so if I could just ask if anybody is listening here, or what they can do, especially with like the pandemic and everything, is just support small. Like, of course I want you to support us, but that's not just support. Find somebody, okay, instead of going to Starbucks, turn around and go to the mom and pop coffee shop.
Yeah.
Take the little extra time, or spend the extra $1 to get something that, because it makes impacts on like our whole family. Like, we get an order and everybody's involved. My daughter's putting the postmark on it, and she's trying to stuff protein bags to give to all her friends, and it's really the behind the scenes that people don't see. It's really neat, and supporting that is like really special. So I hope that no matter what you're doing or what you're buying, that people consider shopping small.
I love that. On that, so I found you through Shelby Smith of Jim and Eat Crickets.
Yes.
And it was amazing because she commented on something, or she shared one of your posts. I don't remember what it was, but it was a completely organic Instagram exchange. And I went to your Instagram page and I thought, this is so cool. I looked at your ingredients. I'm like, I personally want to try this, and I think I want to have her on the podcast. And then Shelby emailed me last week, I think it was, and we talked a few weeks ago. You guys took a little family outing and got out of the business for a second, reconnected. And she emailed me just last week, and I'm like, oh girl, I'm already on it. I already found her through you, not even just with the recommendation, but organically. And I think, people ask, they're like, Julia, how do you find these awesome people for the podcast? And part of it, it's not even, I don't always like the word networking, because I think, Dara Brustine, if anyone knows who she is on Instagram, she's absolutely amazing. I think you would love her. Business.
You'll have to connect us.
I will. Oh, she's amazing. Business coach, owner, entrepreneur herself. She had this post yesterday that was like, the ugly side of networking and the good side of networking, like just spamming your business cards out there and like showing up as someone you're not, and just, there's all of that icky networking. And then there's just like actually meeting amazing people and just being amazing together and meeting their peoples. Like, that's what it's about. That's how I found you. That's how I find a lot of these people, is through small business connections. It's, and it's not advantageous connections. It's just people being awesome people and having amazing businesses and all having that community support for one another. It's a really beautiful thing to see. I really love it.
I totally agree with you. And I'm always like the first one. If I find a new small business or something I'm like, let me share about you, because other people need to know about you.
Yes.
We're all in it together. I think if more people felt their thought that way, rather than competition, more so as just building each other up.
Yeah.
It's neat. I think it is shifting a little bit though. So fingers crossed.
I think so too. I think if the past year has taught us anything, it's to wash your hands, but also to just be there, support one another. And because everyone could be going through something. And when all of us started going through a lot of things at the same time, we realized how important community was.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Mm-hmm. Very much. So since I found you on Instagram,
yes,
your Instagram handle is Hanna Valley Protein, and that is Hanna without the second H. HANNA VALLEY Protein. I hope you know how to spell protein, peoples, but if you don't, I could, but you're going to have to look it up in the dictionary on your own. Hanna Valley Protein without the second H. Now, where did the name come from, actually? That's also your website, hannavalley.com. Hanna Valley. Your last name's Hanna. What was the development on that?
It is not anything mind-blowing. We my husband and I both grew up in the city. I grew up around Chicago. He grew up around St. Louis. And we ended up in like the smallest town of Iowa that I never, ever would have thought would have happened. But I love it. I will take this lifestyle over and over and over again. But we moved in the middle of nowhere, and we don't really have neighbors, and we live in a valley. And so we were like, oh, it's Hanna Valley. We like claimed the area. And so when we were trying to come up with names, we were coming up with just something like I really want to always do in our business and just in life is stay true to ourselves, you know? And so it was kind of easy to like Hanna Valley. Oh, it is us. Like we didn't come up with it for this. Like this is just us. And so, it just turned into our name. My husband's business is Hanna Wood Co.
Okay.
So we're the Hanna family, I guess.
Hanna Valley Protein, and Hanna Wood Co. Both out of Truro, Iowa, just south of Des Moines.
Yes.
Yay. Oh, so wonderful. Do you have any last words of advice? Any favorite books, quotes? What would you like to leave off with, my dear?
Oh my gosh, I don't even have time to give you all my favorites. No. I just keep searching, you know. I feel like, you know, people all the time, I don't have time to read. Well, neither do I, but I also have like 10 books going right now, you know. And I just think always, and I'm not talking about like self-help books. I'm talking about like just as a person, you know. Okay, for instance, one of my many hats is as a parent. So I've been reading like the 5 love languages of children. Like I really think it's important for all aspects of life to be kind of balanced, because if one's failing, I don't feel like any of them can be the best that they can be if one side of it's kind of failing. So just trying to find that balance. I know I keep talking about that, but it's so important. Just as my family, you know, as a mother, and even if you're not, you know, everybody has their own things that take precedent in their life. So yeah, just finding a balance of those things and always learning. I'm always, if I'm feeling down, you'll find me on YouTube. Okay, like motivational, like somebody help get me up because I don't have time to be down, you know, and everybody goes through that. But I also feel like we have so much control over our perspective in life. And so if we can dig ourselves out of those times when we're down, it can really help, you know, just everything.
Definitely. Even if the scale, we keep talking about the balancing and the tipping scales act too, but yeah, I think even if one is a little bit low, it's almost like you add something to the joyful scale and it comes up, and at the same time it kind of boosts the other tray as well. Maybe the joy bank is not so full and the business bank has been getting all of the attention, and then you boost the joy and it somehow has a synergistic effect on the business too, or the family, or whatever. Yeah, you have to take care of yourself in order to show up fully for all of the rest of the things that life has for you.
Yeah, being aware, I think, you know, if I'll go for a few weeks really, really hard with our business and things are going really well, and I'm like, you know what? I have to take a step back. I need a week. You know, I need to just, because I can't keep going in that mode because it's not going to end well, you know? And so just kind of being self-aware and, you know, being willing to allow that in your life, I think is really important.
That's a beautiful thought. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for just sharing your story about Hanna Valley Protein, about your journey dealing with your health and how nutrition really turned around a tumor in your eye. I'm still emotion shocked from that too. That's just an amazing
Sometimes
thing.
I don't even like saying it because I feel like it sounds like I don't even if it didn't happen to me, you know, I would be like, what?
Sure.
But knowing firsthand, I don't feel like I could just keep quiet about it. There's so many things that, you know, people that this could help. So,
it's an amazing example, most definitely. And again, we can find you on Instagram at Hanna Valley Protein, HannaValley.com, Campbell's Nutrition. If you guys are in Des Moines or the surrounding area, you can find them in the bulk section there. Do they have your packages there as well, or do they just have them in the bulk section? Okay, packaged too. So couple different ways of getting it. And then I ordered from you online. That was extremely easy and very fast shipping, though I do realize I only live 2 hours away. So that was...
I really try. I know how much if somebody's wanting something. So when it's in my power, we usually do like the priority shipping, and I try to get it out as quickly as I can.
Yes.
But we're around other locations throughout like the Des Moines area as well, like the Iowa Food Co-op, Capital City Fruit, which is really cool because even if you aren't local to Des Moines, they deliver so many places. So you can order just our protein through them, or you can also add some different produce and things like that to your order, because it's really good stuff too.
Cool. Capital City Fruit I have not yet checked out. I will need to check them out. So that's the one thing sometimes, if there's not a farmer's market in season, or if you just can't make it on that day, getting locally fresh produce can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes. And, everyone's definition of local is a little bit different. But yeah, that's one thing I'll reminisce on when I was doing grocery pickup earlier last year. I missed picking out my produce, but I would also trust someone else who is a produce company to pick out my produce for me.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've taken a tour of their facility and just all of the different ways they go through, and you get it a couple days earlier than you'd even get it like in a grocery store.
Sure.
So yeah, I definitely recommend it. But yeah, there's some other places if anybody's interested. Definitely get in touch with me. I'm happy to share how you can find us or where, or just connect on our website.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Emily. This has been a wonderful conversation. Most definitely. So guys, go ahead and check out Hanna Valley Protein on social media, on their website. Check it out if you're in Des Moines. And as always, go ahead and check us out on YouTube, on Instagram, on iTunes, on Spotify. We're on all of the places. Search for The Ethical Consumer or Ethical Consumer Podcast, and you'll find us. And I will see you next time.